Right now, while your car sits in the parking lot, something is eating it alive. Underneath the paint, inside the wheel wells, along the bottom edges of every door panel, metal is being devoured, millimeter by millimeter, day after day, in complete silence. It is called rust, and most Americans only discover it when the damage is already catastrophic. When the paint bubbles and cracks open to reveal orange decay underneath the surface, when the hole appears in the fender and daylight shines through your quarter panel, when the body shop mechanic crosses his arms and says $2,000 per panel, or we cut it out and weld in new metal. The auto body shop industry in the United States generates more than $73 billion every single year. A significant chunk of that revenue comes from rust repair, a service that in 85% of cases can be performed by any person with $3 of product and 30 minutes of free time. The reason you never knew that is brutally simple. $3 in your driveway does not pay the rent on a body shop. This is the story of a liquid that the military perfected during the Second World War to protect warships, tanks, and firearms from corrosion. A chemical process proven across more than 80 years of military and industrial use around the world. A process that body shops apply every single day and then charge you $2,000 for the privilege of watching. And a technology the entire auto repair industry prays you never discover on your own. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. If you're not subscribed yet, hit subscribe and the bell right now. This is where we crack open the vaults that billion-dollar industries welded shut. In 1869, a British inventor named William Alexander Ross filed a patent that would eventually change the future of metal protection forever. Ross discovered that phosphoric acid could react with iron to create a thin, stable phosphate layer on the surface of steel. That layer acted like invisible armor, shielding the metal underneath from moisture, oxygen, and corrosion, but the process was slow, inconsistent, and difficult to scale inside a factory. 37 years later, another British inventor named Thomas Watts Coslett refined the formula in his workshop in Birmingham, England. Coslett filed an improved patent in 1906 that made the phosphating process faster, more reliable, and applicable to larger surfaces. His breakthrough crossed the Atlantic Ocean and landed in the hands of an American company called the Parker Rust Proof Company. Clark Parker, the founder, acquired the patent rights and began experimenting in his family kitchen with phosphoric acid formulations. Picture that scene for a moment. A man in his kitchen, stirring chemicals in a pot, trying to stop metal from decaying. The Parker Company improved the process further through the 1920s and 30s, filing patent after patent for faster and cheaper phosphating methods. Then, the Second World War arrived, and everything changed overnight. The United States military had a massive problem on its hands inside naval shipyards. Hundreds of warships were corroding at alarming rates in the saltwater of the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. Tanks rolling through the mud and rain of European battlefields were losing structural integrity to rust within months. Firearms issued to soldiers were seizing up in the humid jungles of the South Pacific Theater. The military needed a fast, cheap, and reliable way to protect metal from corrosion under the worst conditions on Earth. The Parker Rust Proof Company answered the call with a refined zinc phosphating process patented in 1941. The technique was called parkerizing, and it became the standard anti-corrosion treatment for virtually every piece of American military equipment produced during the war. Millions of rifles, pistols, helmets, vehicle components, and ship fittings were parkerized between 1942 and 1945. The process worked so well that it became permanent military doctrine, and it remains in use by armed forces around the world to this very day. Here's what that process does at the molecular level inside a laboratory. Phosphoric acid reacts with iron oxide, which is the chemical name for rust. It converts that unstable, porous, destructive orange compound into iron phosphate, a stable, dense, black compound that bonds tightly to the metal surface. The rust literally transforms into its own protective shield right before your eyes. The orange disappears, replaced by a hard black coating that resists moisture, blocks oxygen, and stops further corrosion dead in its tracks. This is not some experimental technology waiting for approval from a government laboratory. This is 80-plus years of proven science deployed across every branch of the United States military. But here is what the body shop will never tell you when you walk through their front door. That exact same chemical reaction, the same phosphoric acid, the same molecular conversion, is available to you right now in a bottle at Walmart for $3.47. This video is just the surface of what the auto repair industry has buried. I've collected everything they do not want you to know into one place, all inside the complete Forbidden Camping Vault. The Forbidden Firecraft Manual that reveals techniques the military classified as too effective for civilian training. The Lost Rations Cookbook with preservation methods that kept soldiers alive when supply lines were destroyed. The complete off-grid blueprint for building systems that cost nothing and replace thousands in commercial equipment. The the 72-hour blackout checklist that emergency agencies use internally but never publish for the general population. And now, a complete rust repair protocol that body shops charge $2,000 to perform with $15 of material from your local auto parts store. Every guide is built from suppressed data, verified sources, and step-by-step instructions anyone can follow this weekend. The link is in the description, first line, right now, but stay right here because the video is just getting started and the numbers are about to make you furious. Let us talk about what is happening to your car right now at the molecular level on every exposed surface. Automotive rust is an electrochemical reaction between the iron in your car's steel body panels, the oxygen in the air, and water. Under normal dry conditions, this reaction is slow enough that your paint and primer keep it under control for years. But two factors accelerate corrosion so dramatically that your car can go from pristine to perforated in a single winter season. Factor number one is road salt, and the numbers behind it are staggering. The United States dumps approximately 24 million metric tons of sodium chloride on roads every single winter. That is enough salt to fill dump trucks lined up bumper to bumper for more than 8,000 miles across the country. 25 states in the Northeast and Midwest, known as the Salt Belt, treat their highways with this corrosive chemical from November through April every year. Salt is an electrolyte, and when it dissolves in water on your car's surface, it accelerates the corrosion reaction by 5 to 10 times the normal rate. A study by the United States Geological Survey confirmed that vehicles in Minnesota corrode up to 5 times faster than identical vehicles in Arizona. That salt spray coats your wheel wells, your rocker panels, your door seams, and the entire undercarriage of your vehicle. It collects in every crevice and joint where water pools and never fully dries out between storms. And here is the detail that should infuriate every car owner in America right now. Road salt causes an estimated $5 billion in damage to vehicles and infrastructure every single year, according to transportation research data. States know this, and they keep dumping salt anyway because it costs $50 to $70 per ton, while alternatives like calcium magnesium acetate cost over $300 per ton. The math is simple. Your car pays the price so the state can save money on its winter road budget. Factor number two is paint damage from road debris, stones, and everyday wear on your vehicle. Every chip in your clear coat, every scratch through the primer, every ding from a parking lot door is a breach in the only barrier between salt water and bare metal. Once bare steel is exposed to moisture and salt, the rust reaction begins, and it does not stop on its own. Rust is porous, which means it absorbs even more moisture, which accelerates even more corrosion underneath. It is a feedback loop that only gets worse with every passing day of inaction. There are 3 stages of automotive rust, and understanding them is the difference between $3 and $3,000 in repair costs. Stage 1 is surface rust, where you see orange or brown discoloration appearing on the paint surface or bare metal spots. The structure underneath is still completely intact and solid to the touch with no weakness. This is the stage where $3 of rust converter applied with a cheap paintbrush resolves the problem completely and permanently. Stage 2 is scale rust, where the corrosion has penetrated deeper into the metal surface below the paint. The paint is bubbling, the metal is becoming porous and forming flaky scales that crumble when you touch them. $3 to $8 of product still fixes this stage entirely with about 1 hour of hands-on work in your driveway. Stage 3 is penetrating rust, where the corrosion has eaten completely through the metal panel, creating actual holes. Daylight passes through the body of your car, and at this point, the compromised metal must be cut out and replaced with welded patches. This stage genuinely requires professional equipment and skill, and I will never tell you otherwise. But here is the critical truth. The body shop industry depends on you never learning on your own. 85% of rust damage that body shops charge $1,000 to $2,000 per panel to repair is stage 1 or stage 2. If you have made it this far, you already know more about automotive corrosion than 99% of car owners in America. Subscribe and share this with every person you know who drives a car through winter roads. Everything the body shop industry buried is waiting for you in the complete vault. Link sitting right there in the description. Now stay with me, because the conspiracy behind this $3 secret is the heaviest vault we have ever cracked open. Stages that any car owner with a $3 bottle from AutoZone could treat in their own driveway on a Saturday afternoon. Stages where the total material cost is under $15 for a complete multi-panel restoration. But the body shop does not look at your car and say this is stage 1 surface rust. You could handle this yourself at home for almost nothing. The body shop looks at your car and says, this requires professional repair, and then hands you an estimate for $1,500. The material they use to fix stage 1 and stage 2 rust is the exact same phosphoric acid converter you can buy at Walmart for $3. The sandpaper they use costs $1 at any hardware store in the country. The primer spray costs $4, the touch-up paint costs $8, and the clear coat costs another $4. The total material cost for the body shop is under $20 to repair a single panel from start to finish. They charge you $500 to $2,000 for that $20 job. That is a profit margin between 80 and 90% on one of the simplest repair procedures in the entire automotive service industry. Now let us zoom out and look at the scale of this machine operating across the entire country. There are more than 280 million registered vehicles in the United States right now, according to federal transportation records. The average age of a car on American roads is 12.6 years, well past the 5 to 7 year window where factory corrosion protection fails. 150 million of those vehicles operate in Salt Belt states where corrosive road chemicals attack metal surfaces for 5 months every year. The auto body shop industry pulls in $73.9 billion in annual revenue, according to IBISWorld research data. 2/3 of American consumers report that they do not trust auto repair shops when it comes to honest assessments and fair pricing. 2/3 of customers already suspect they are being overcharged, and they are absolutely right about their suspicion. The entire business model of rust repair depends on one single factor keeping customers walking through that body shop entrance: your ignorance about a $3 bottle of liquid that has been available at every auto parts store and hardware retailer in the country since the 1950s. So why have you never heard of rust converter before watching this video today? Why is this not taught in driver education classes across the country? Why does no mechanic, no dealership service advisor, no auto parts store employee ever volunteer this information when they see rust on your vehicle? Because the entire rust repair economy collapses overnight if car owners learn to do this themselves. You cannot build a service business around a product that costs $3 and requires zero professional training to apply correctly. You cannot justify a $2,000 invoice when the customer knows the materials cost $15 total. You cannot generate repeat revenue from a treatment that prevents the problem from ever progressing to an expensive stage in the first place. The auto body repair industry needs rust to get worse before you notice it. They need you to wait until stage 3 before you walk through their door, because stage 3 is the only stage that actually requires professional intervention. Every month, you ignore that small rust spot on your fender, the body shop's future invoice grows larger. Every winter your car absorbs road salt without an undercarriage wash, someone's repair estimate gains another zero at the end. The system is not designed to help you catch rust early and fix it cheaply on your own terms. The system is designed to catch you late, when the only option left is writing a very large check. And the automobile manufacturers are complicit partners in this arrangement at the factory level. Volkswagen and Audi have offered full-body galvanization on their vehicles since the 1980s, providing 12-plus years of corrosion protection from the assembly line. Tesla builds body panels from aluminum that does not rust at all under any conditions. Ford switched the F-150, America's best-selling vehicle, to an aluminum body in 2015, specifically to eliminate corrosion complaints. The technology to build cars that resist rust for 20 years or more exists right now and has existed for decades. But most American and Japanese manufacturers, including General Motors, Chrysler, Toyota, and Honda, use only partial galvanization that protects for 5 to 7 years and then fails. A car that never rusts is a car the owner never replaces ahead of schedule and never brings to a body shop for expensive panel work. Planned corrosion is not a conspiracy theory whispered in dark corners of the internet. It is an economic reality built into the business model of every manufacturer that chooses partial protection over full protection despite knowing the technology exists. Here is exactly what you do this weekend to stop rust from eating your car and save yourself thousands of dollars. Step 1. Go to your nearest AutoZone, O'Reilly, Walmart, or order online and buy a bottle of Rust Converter. Brand options include Rust Oleum Rust Reformer for $4 to $8, Loctite Extend Rust Neutralizer for $4 to $6, or FDC Rust Converter for $3 to $5. Any phosphoric acid-based converter will work because the chemistry is identical across every brand on the shelf. Step 2. Wash the rusted area thoroughly with soap and water to remove all surface dirt, road salt residue, and loose debris. Dry the area completely with a clean towel because the converter needs to react with rust, not with water sitting on the surface. Step 3. Take 80 to 120 grit sandpaper, which costs $1 to $2 for a multi-pack, and sand off any loose, flaking rust and peeling paint. You do not need to remove every trace of rust down to bare metal, just the loose, crumbling material that would prevent the converter from bonding. Step 4. Brush or spray the rust converter directly onto the entire affected area, making sure every orange and brown spot is fully covered. Watch the color change happen in real time as the phosphoric acid reacts with iron oxide and transforms it into black iron phosphate. Let the first coat dry for 24 hours in a covered area away from rain and morning moisture. Step 5. Apply a second coat of converter over the treated area and let it dry for another 24 hours. 2 coats guarantee complete conversion of all remaining rust particles trapped in the metal surface. Step 6. Spray 2 to 3 thin coats of automotive primer from a $4 spray can over the treated area, letting each coat dry for 15 minutes between applications. Step 7. Apply 3 to 4 thin coats of touch-up paint matched to your vehicle's color code, which you can find on the sticker inside your driver door jamb. A matching spray can cost $5 to $10 at any auto parts retailer, and they will look up the code for you at the counter. Step 8. Seal everything with 2 to 3 coats of clear coat spray for $3 to $5 to protect the new paint from sun damage and future moisture exposure. Total cost for a complete multi-panel rust repair, $15 to $27 and about 2 hours of easy weekend work. Compare that to $500 to $2,000 per panel at the body shop for the exact same chemical process using the exact same materials. Now, I need to be honest with you about the real limitations of this method, so you trust everything else I have told you today. Stage 3, penetrating rust with actual holes through the metal, cannot be fixed with converter alone, and requires cutting and welding by a professional. Structural components, like frame rails, subframe mounts, and suspension attachment points, must be evaluated by a certified mechanic if corrosion is present. Touch-up paint from a spray can will never perfectly match your factory finish, so on highly visible panels like the hood and doors, a professional painter will deliver a better cosmetic result. And rust converter should only be applied to areas where actual rust is exposed, not over intact paint, because the acid is designed to react with iron oxide specifically. Always work in a ventilated area because phosphoric acid fumes can irritate your lungs in an enclosed garage space. But for wheel wells, rocker panels, door edges, trunk lids, and undercarriage areas where 80% of automotive rust begins its invasion, this $3 treatment is everything you need. The United States military knew this in 1941 when they parkerized millions of weapons and vehicles for the largest war in human history. Body shops know this every single morning when they open their doors and apply the exact same chemistry before writing you a 4-figure estimate. The only person who did not know was you, and that was by design rather than by accident. We did not lose this knowledge because it failed or became obsolete over the decades. We lost it because a $73 billion industry needed us to forget so their invoices could keep climbing higher every year. But Rust Converter is still sitting on the shelf at every hardware store and auto parts retailer in every town across the country. $3, 30 minutes, and the same military-grade chemistry that protected an entire fleet of warships from the Pacific Ocean. If this vault cracked something open for you today, subscribe and share this video with every car owner you know. Every share is one more person who stops paying $2,000 for a $20 repair. Every subscription preserves knowledge that an entire industry spent decades trying to keep buried underground. The next vault opens soon, and what the industry hid inside that one is even worse than what you learned today.